Wow, that was a look at Metallica, Through the Never, the brand new 3D movie hitting theaters this Friday. And the band's drummer, Lars Ulrich, joins us now on set. It's great to see you, and I just found out such an interesting fact. Your father was a professional tennis player.
Yes, he was, yes.
So you became a drummer for Metallica.
Yeah, that's the short version of the story. But I grew up around the tennis circuit, and so when I was up till I was about 15 or 16, my aspiration was to follow in my father's footsteps and become a professional tennis player.
Are you good?
I'm good enough.
Good enough
nowadays, yeah. But I wasn't good enough back then.
So tell us about this movie.
Well, it's a 3D movie for the theaters. It opens on every IMAX screen in America on Friday, and we've been working on it for about 3 or 4 years. It's sort of a hybrid between a concert film and a dramatic film. It's set against the background of a concert, and there's a dramatic story that sort of weaves its way through. There's a runner, or roadie as some people call him, whose name is Trip, played by the wonderful actor Dane DeHaan, who is sent on an errand for the band, and then things go terribly wrong from there, and it just takes on a world of its own.
John Heilman.
I'm going to ask you a big question about Metallica in a second, but do you think of Purple Rain is kind of a? I mean, it's a similar thing, concert plus actual narrative in it. You know,
I mean, The Wall obviously. Is a cornerstone of that kind of film. Purple Rain, to a degree. We use The Last Waltz, the band, which is a very sort of cinematic film.
Right.
When we were trying to sell this movie in Hollywood 3 years ago, it was easier to talk about what the movie wasn't than what it was, because in Hollywood, if you're bringing something they've never seen, they like references in Hollywood. There's no real references for this movie, so it took a little while to get people to buy it in Hollywood.
So the band's been around 32 years.
Yes.
Right?
Frightening.
So, you know, there's a great scene in the movie Almost Famous where Jimmy Fallon does this thing where he says, if you think Mick Jagger is going to be still making rock and roll music when he's 50 years old, you've got another thing coming, right? When you guys are a heavy metal band, the archetypal, most
something like that,
the most popular, most important heavy metal band ever. Did you think 32 years ago when you started Metallica that you'd still be making this music 32 years later?
No way.
Well, the goal 32 years ago was to have an IMAX movie and sit here at MSNBC and talk to you guys. Yeah, that was what we were striving towards. No, I mean, at that time, I come from Denmark, grew up in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I was never particularly goal-oriented. I thought that was a very American thing. Yeah. So when I came to America when I was 17, and everybody's like, so you want to make it? What are you thinking? What's your long-term goals? I was like, goals, I just want to play music and have fun and live sort of in the moment, be a little more impulsive. The fact that we're still doing this 32 years later is obviously pretty crazy. If you look at the
height of discipline, by the way, because you said you weren't going to play tennis because you're not that disciplined, and yet look at you.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, just thinking the last 3 or 4 days we've been here in New York, we played the Apollo Theater. We played Yankee Stadium on Sunday for Rivera's, goodbye. We played Howard Stern. We played at Howard Stern's show yesterday, and now I'm sitting here with you. So 32 years into
Let's talk about Mariano Rivera for a second. He's one of the greatest baseball players ever to live, the greatest closer of all time. And he comes in every time to Enter Sandman, which you played live, although I like the cello version at Fenway. I don't know if you heard that one, too.
I've heard most of them.
When did you know that he was doing it? When did you realize it was kind of a big deal?
Well, it's been on our radar. I mean, he's been doing it for about 15 years.
No, I know, but like, take it back to when somebody's brought it to your attention, and then all of a sudden you're playing at Yankee Stadium.
I mean, obviously, it's last year, and so we've been aware of that. A couple, 2-3 months ago, they came to us and said, this is going down this fall, and would you like to be part of it? Obviously, at the All-Star game out at the Met Stadium, that was a big moment when he walked in and had the whole stadium to himself, and the song played in its entirety for 5 minutes. So it's been pretty cool to be associated with that. We're very proud of that.
When you think back on the long arc of this career, like what are you proudest of in terms of what's the music that right now, if you were
I'm probably proudest of the longevity and the fact that 32 years into a career we can still sit here and talk about it and be considered somewhat relevant.
Oh yeah. Every time I teased you coming on the show, people started, oh my God.
Meek is a big metal fan.
Hey,
she thinks you guys are a little soft.
Okay, well,
she's a little more.
She's not the only one that.
She's a little more into speed metal, okay. Like even faster.
Norwegian death metal.
Don't believe a word he says. All right, Lars Ulrich, thank you so much.
Thank you for
great
having
to
me.
have you on the show. Through the Never hits theaters this Friday. Go see it. Up next, big man on campus why Ted Cruz says he would only study with Harvard, Princeton, and Yale students. And not any of the minor Ivies? We'll explain next on Morning Joe.